What's up, everybody? Welcome to For People Like You. This is a space for faith, inspiration, and conversations where people like you and people like us are growing together every day. We are so glad you're here. We're your hosts. I'm Bianca, and this is my husband, Jason. And we're excited that you're here with us, joining in on the conversation. Today's going to be fun, but before we jump in, why don't you like, subscribe, follow us on social media at For People Like You Podcast on Instagram. All the links are down below. But without further ado, let's jump into today's conversation. We're talking all about friendships.
Let's go.
Friendships.
I'm excited for this convo.
Yes.
I think friendships is so important.
Yeah.
I think what we've realized too is that relationships is like a currency almost.
Yeah.
And, definitely quality over quantity, but there's so many moments and opportunities that we've had in life based on relationships, and I feel like God brought us the right people and all that. So I'm excited to talk through all of those things, like friendship pains and all of that, but how to like navigate, having great friendships and how to be a good friend and all of that. So I think it's a great convo. I think it's necessary for our culture, our day and age, all of that.
Absolutely. And these kind of conversations used to feel surface level to me because for a long time we were both planted and established in Orlando, Florida. So you grew up in Orlando your whole life. I moved to Orlando from the Midwest halfway through my junior year of high school. And from the Midwest to Florida, we had this built-in, like, incredible community from high school to college years, and then even, leading into getting engaged and getting married. Right. And we had to learn once we didn't have a built-in community anymore and we moved to Miami. That was the big shift for us.
It was, yeah.
It shocked us.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're out of your comfort zone. You're out of what you're used to and what's familiar. And now you're in this new place and you're like having to figure things out again from scratch. It feels like your first day at school again. And you're like, oh man, I don't know where to go. Where do I fit in? And
absolutely,
it's so many dynamics with it.
Figuring out friendships it's a big one, especially as you get, emerge out of your high school years and you're a young adult and, 18, 19, 20, those early years. And then really, I think anything post-grad is where you're kind of like ejected out of your built-in community, whether you're part of Greek life or you're just really involved at your university and your campus. And then you maybe move to a city for a job or you stay home and you begin to work corporate, whatever it is, you all of a sudden are like, whoa, all my friends are scattered across the country. Yeah. They're all working in their careers and their fields. And now I've got to figure out how to basically rebuild my community. And it's shocking. Yeah. And right now, we live in Southwest Florida in Cape Coral. And right now at our church, we're seeing some people post-grad moving into Cape Coral. Yeah. Who, were part of universities, master's programs around the country, and they're finding themselves getting settled here, whether they're single, dating, married, but they're trying to figure out community as a young adult.
Like starting from scratch.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. And I think you go through different seasons of that in life too, like all the way from when you're super young, you've got your like childhood friends, that you grew up with and playing outside in the neighborhood together. Then you got like maybe your school friends and maybe church friends and all that. And then as you grow up in elementary, middle, high school, college, like all of those friendships shift. Some of them you can maybe maintain, but it doesn't happen on its own. Yeah. And then, you go through different career changes, relationships, marriage, parenting, and all of that can create distance in friendships and relationships. And, we'll probably talk more about this, but I think one of the hardest things and tensions that we have to manage is this friendship meant to be a lifelong friendship?
That's hard.
Is it meant to be for this season? Is it meant to be for however long, And the tricky part about friendships and really all relationships is that it's not a one-way street. Yeah. It's two-sided. It takes one person to step out, the other person to meet them halfway. And a lot of times it's not always that halfway point. It's sometimes I'm really coming to you and then sometimes you're coming to me, And I think that's the difficult part because a lot of friendships maybe don't last because someone feels like they're putting in all the effort and they're not getting it reciprocated or vice versa. Yeah. And there's a lot of tensions involved in that, a lot of emotions, a lot of hurt and pain that can come from it.
Absolutely. For sure. Okay. Well, before we dive deeper in, because we're already in it, we're ready. This is something.
So excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. But I want to do some rapid fire real quick. Okay.
I love that in the last episode.
Yes. Rapid fire. Never been done before.
Yeah, right.
Rapid fire friendship edition.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. I'm going to shoot some to you. The 5, you shoot 5 to me.
Let's do it.
Easier to make friends in college or as an adult?
I think it's easier to make friends in college.
Yeah.
Because you have so much in common.
Yeah.
You know, it's like same classes, same universities, same environment, maybe same age or same season of life.
Yeah.
I think it's way easier.
Yeah.
As an adult, there's so many other things that you're trying to align. Hey, do you like this? Do you like that? No? Okay, like we have nothing in common.
Yeah, it's like dating.
It's so difficult sometimes. Yeah.
One thing that makes someone instantly likable.
I think someone who doesn't take themselves too serious.
That part.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm like, bro, if you're too serious, I'm like, I don't want to, I need some lightheartedness out of this friendship or whatever. I'm like, that's just an immediate, like, all right, dude, you might be great, but yeah, we're good.
And that's a preference thing. There are people who they want the meaty depth. And I think that always comes. But first is like, do we enjoy being around each other? Yeah, I want
both, but I need to first know that I can, you know, like stand being around you for more than an hour or something.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which, you know, we love everybody, but you can choose who you like and feel that chemistry with to take it a step further.
Yeah, I love everybody, but I don't have to be friends with everybody.
That's true.
You know?
That's true. That's going to help somebody right now. Okay. What's more awkward, making a new friend or going on a first date?
Oh, well, I've probably only been on like
you've dated
one
around.
or two first dates. Yeah, but it was like when you're in high school, your first date is like, hey, you want to go to this like school thing together, or you want to like, I don't. First dating for me was not a thing. So I think like making a new friend is probably harder or more intimidating.
Okay. What's worse, being ghosted by a friend or being ghosted by a romantic interest?
Romantic interest.
Yeah.
Unless like that friend is really close and it's like you really needed them to have a conversation, or like you're just going through it in life and they ghosted you, that might be harder. But almost all the time I feel like romantic interest, you know, because like your heart's in that in such a different way. Yeah.
But then again, it's like if I'm on the side of the road and I have a flat tire, you better answer the phone.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Friendship green flag.
Friendship green flag.
What's a friendship green flag?
I think somebody who is real with you, who's upfront, vulnerable. They're not fake around you. They don't like stab you in the back. They don't talk behind your back or anything like that. It's like, you know that they're real, and they've got you. Yeah. You know?
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about loyalty.
Loyalty. All right. Here we go. The next one. How often do you really need to text a friend to stay close? Or maybe texting, calling, voice messaging, just contact, you know, outside of a face-to-face conversation.
Okay. A year ago, my answer would have been different.
Yeah.
I would have said, oh, some of my best friends, we talk every 6 months. We don't have to talk all the time.
What is it now?
We know that we have love for each other. Now, I truly believe that you need to talk to someone at least a few times a month.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, you know, a long paragraph text conversation. Thank God for voice memos. Mm-hmm. Me and two of my best friends, Whitney and Megan, do this thing called Wednesday Waffle. Every Wednesday, we send a 1-minute video update of our life. Yeah. It turns into like 3 minutes, 1 minute, 5, 7, 10, just depends. But that, I feel like, has already strengthened our friendship so much. Yeah. And I think you need to know what's happening in the people that you love in their world, kind of ongoing. So I would say texting once a week, every few weeks, a few times a month. I think that's how you keep a friendship strong. Mm-hmm. If not, it will naturally dwindle and you'll find yourself kind of being like, oh, I don't really know what's happening in your world.
And not just like small talk. It's like, hey, give me a life update. You know? What's been the hardest thing that you've gone through in the last month, or like things like that, where it's not just like, hey, we're great. Yeah, like it's not casual, because I don't think there's real depth in that, right? So is that what you would say? Because it sounds like these life updates.
I'm somewhere in the middle. The life updates, some get deep. Some are just like, hey, no big updates this week. Love you, miss you. Yeah. But it's just seeing their face on a video. It's just like, I love you. You love me. Yeah. Sometimes it's just sending a funny meme, or like sometimes it's, you know, just like a voice memo saying, hey, I love you. I'm thinking of you. I'm praying about you. Yeah. I'm praying for you. But I think it's that contact that just, when it's going both ways and you're in that flow, you're like, we're in the pocket of our friendship.
Makes a difference.
It does.
What's your friendship love language? Deep convos, quality time, memes, anything else? What would that be for you?
I think it's quality time. Okay. Quality time. Yeah. I don't need to have deep conversations every time we're together. Yeah. I don't need I love memes and like sending, I love DMs and stuff. So I like when people know my humor and they send it, and I love that. But I would say quality time, like let's just hang and be around each other, just chill at my house while I'm cooking dinner. And I love that stuff. Yeah.
What's one thing that you wish more people understood about friendships?
You have to be the friend that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Be the friend that you want, and just things that are good take time.
Yeah.
You know, and so if you're starting over in a friendship, or you are trying to re-strengthen a friendship that's maybe gotten a little bit weak and dwindled down, just show up and be the friend you want. I think that whole thing about like, I've put in so much and I'm just going to pull back and see what happens. If it's not a toxic friendship, like keep putting the work in. If it's someone that you would say is worth that investment and worth your time.
Yeah.
Knowing the season your friend is in. Yeah.
Yeah. Are best friends a thing, or do you prefer a solid circle?
So is that one person is your best friend?
I think that's probably where the question is like alluding to, but I would think of it as like this. You got like maybe 3 best friends that they know everything about you. You guys talk all the time. You're closest. Those are the people that you're like ride or die. We're going on trips together. We're, doing life together. Never get tired of each other. Yeah. And then the solid circle is probably just, you've got a lot of people around you, and they're decent friendships, but maybe not a ton of depth there.
Really? Okay.
So maybe a quality over quantity type of question.
So what was the question though? Are best friends a thing?
Best friends, yeah.
I think best friends versus a solid circle. I think I really love, this is hard for me. I think best friends are a thing. I don't need the title. Mm-hmm. I almost love the best friendships that feel like we're more like family. Yeah, we can pick up where we left off. I call you, you call me. We don't have to fluff and sugarcoat. We're just going for it. I think a solid circle, though, is so much. It's cool in a different way because there's the community. There's like that strength. And if I'm having a low day, I want to hit up my girlfriend that's always like super joyful and bubbly. She's just going to lift me up. Yeah. And then on some days, I need my super deep friend who I can just sit at a coffee shop and cry with. And you're going to like be deep with me. And then there's other times I need my friend that's just maybe super empathetic and compassionate. And they're just going to come to my house and they're going to cook soup when I'm sick. Or I just think community, like that circle is really nice because you have the variety of strength in your friendships. Mm-hmm. So I would say best friends were a thing like younger adulthood, college years. And now I find myself just kind of with a solid circle. Yeah. And I value that.
That's good. Love that. Last one. What's the weirdest way you've ever made a friend?
I would say Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I made one of my really good friends in a specific season of life. We met through Instagram. Mm-hmm. She was liking my stuff. I was liking her stuff. She asked me to meet for coffee, and we literally had never met in real life. And we became really close friends for a season. Yeah. Nothing bad, just life. We live in different cities now, whatever. But at that time, it was kind of weird to think, wow, we met through this social media app, and now we're becoming really good friends. So I'd say Instagram and would be a weirder way that I wouldn't have thought in the past.
Yeah. It's weird in a digital world.
Yeah. But then we really became besties in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Now with the topic of friendships and talking about some different areas of how friendships change and how we go through life in different seasons and how to navigate, healthy friendships and maintaining those, developing those, making new ones, all of those kinds of things. When it comes to friendships like shifting around and changing, what are some things, and maybe even friendships that you notice because you've moved around quite a bit in your life and really different pivotal seasons? How have you navigated that shift of friendships, where it's like you're leaving people that you grew up with or people that you did a lot of life with in a certain part of your life to now you're starting over in a new city, new place from scratch? What are some things that you've learned with that shift that would maybe help people?
Oh my gosh, that would help people. I don't know if it's helpful. I think it's just each time it was harder than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And you know what? The first few moves were actually, I would say, easier than I thought they would be because as I was the first one, I was 12. And so I moved from St. Louis, Missouri to Branson, Missouri. Yeah. And I pretty much made friends. And how far is that? 4 hours. Okay. Yeah. So I pretty much made friends right away. Yeah. And I was still in junior high. So, I think that was pretty smooth. I made some good friends. And then I moved from Branson, Missouri to Orlando, Florida. And I would say I made some good friends too because of my church.
Yeah.
And then the move from Orlando to Miami, hard. Because there was like that really long stretch, you know, because anything up to 12, like which was St. Louis, I was just young. I was kind of more subject to what my parents were doing. So yeah, it was what it was. And then I think Branson, I was there for like 4 or 5 years. So that was just kind of like a quick stint. It was a great season, but we were all kind of ready to move. Like by the time we moved to Orlando, my whole family was like, let's bounce, let's go to Florida. Sure. And then I fell in love with Orlando.
Oh, yeah. I'm just kidding.
I fell in love with Orlando.
Yeah.
I fell in love with Florida. Yeah. And so for me, I was like, yeah, Orlando's home. I met people that were my bridesmaid, my still best friends in my life to this day. So I never saw myself leaving Orlando. Yeah. So that move to Miami, that was like, that shook me. Right. It was just shocking, you know? And then I would say the move from Miami here for a short season was also hard. Because like community, if you don't have anybody, you're isolated. It just sucks. It's not fun. But now it's better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, growing up in Orlando for 23 years and then moving to Miami for 8 years and now moving to Cape Coral, we've been here for a year. All of those changes and transitions have really affected friendships and changed. Not so much in a negative way. Like I'm thankful that there hasn't really been any like bad blood or, you know, any hurt in friendships. Yeah. But I think naturally, you know, I'm not as close to people as I was when there was proximity there, you know, when we can we're always around each other because of like church stuff or events or work or whatever it is. Like it's like we're in the same town, so it's easy to do things. So you naturally are keeping that frequency up. But then once that proximity isn't there anymore, now you're just relying on phone calls, text messages, Instagram, those check-ins, which are a lot harder to do because it's out of sight, out of mind. And I heard something one time where somebody said friendships are either for a season, a reason, or for a lifetime. And that really helped me because it made me realize a lot of the friendships that maybe I'm not as close to as I once was, it's not a bad thing. That just means that it was meant for that season and it was awesome and it was great. And a lot of those friendships, like I can go back to Orlando or I can call somebody up or text them and we just pick up right where we left off. And I think that's so great. You know, I don't maybe think it's ideal. I would love to still be closer to certain people. It's just harder with life being busier and, you know, we're in different areas and different parts of life where it's just harder to keep those together. So I think realizing that, you know, somebody might be in your life just for a reason, you know, maybe for an opportunity, a connection, an adjustment, whatever it is, or they might be there for just a season of your life. And that could be for a number of years. I think there's a study that's been done where most relationships or friendships last for 7 years. And it's kind of like the life cycle, you know? And so I think any ones that have made it past that, those are for life. More likely to be a lifetime kind of friendship. There's still going to be changes, different dynamics and shifts that happen. But you've got enough longevity and relational equity built up where it's like, we're going to get through the distance. We're going to get through the disagreements and that sort of thing.
Totally. Yeah. One of my best friends on the planet, she's basically like family, is my friend Sydney. And we met when she was 14 and I was 17. And once, you know, I think we probably hit that 7-year mark, like when we got married, you know, to our husbands and stuff. And then she got married and you fell in love with, not fell in love, but like you, you and her husband, Jake, like hit it off. And, you know, it's also like a good thing with friendships is to be like, do we get along as couples? Like, can we chill together, the four of us? Like, is this a good vibe, you know? And so they've come and visited us in Miami and they've come and visited us in Cape. They were our first friends to visit us in Cape Coral. We were pregnant together with our second kids. And now our dynamic looks totally different and the love is still there. But it would be silly to think like we have to talk every single week for an hour because she's pregnant with her second baby with a 1-year-old. I'm not pregnant, but I was supposed to say I'm pregnant, but I'm not. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we live in different cities. So we like got coffee with them last week in Orlando, and we talked for probably 2.5 hours. And then we had to bounce and come back home. And, you know, I think it's being flexible and adaptable for life and to know like life is going to change. It is. And I also want to be present for the new friendships here in our new city and keep adding to the good that we already have. And then also just knowing like some things do fizzle out and not all friendships are for a lifetime, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think there's such a comparison trap about friendships because of social media.
Yeah.
Where people can think like, oh, I see that you have a lot of people around you. You have more friends than me. But I think, one, even as pastors, you know, we are helping to create communities for people. And that's the beautiful thing about the church and the local church, is that you can jump into a community that's already been established with people that are going after the same thing you're going after, which is like growing in God.
Right.
And I do see that people who are planted in churches find themselves surrounded with a lot of good quality friends because they're in a community of like-minded people. Yeah. And I'm sure that sounds annoying coming from pastors, but it's just true. And so I think that honestly, church has helped. I think like that's been the secret sauce of all my moves, is that I was a part of an amazing church in Branson, Missouri, a great church in St. Louis, an amazing church in Orlando where I met you and Sid and all of our best friends from there. And then now we get to pastor, you know, an amazing church in Miami and now an amazing church here. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. And we've seen the other side of that, where if you've got the wrong friends in your life, the wrong people in your life, it's gonna pull you away into things that you shouldn't be involved in, addictions and disappointments, and a lot of hurt can come from that if you don't got the right people. And so I think, man, get the quality friends around you. You don't have to have a lot of people. You just have to have some good people. And that's the tricky part with social media, is we've all got followers, and whether it's hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands, whatever it is, your followers aren't your friends necessarily. You know, it's like that doesn't equate.
Some are.
And a lot of them are. It's like, but that doesn't equate to, oh, because I have a lot of followers, I have a lot of friends.
No.
I think some of the biggest influencers and celebrities and people that you would think, oh, they've got everybody, like they've got all the followers, they got all the fame, all the stuff. They're like, they must be the most connected. I think they might be the most lonely and the most isolated, you know, because just because you have a lot around you doesn't mean you've got the right people around you. And I think anybody who has a quantity of, you know, friends or people right now, I think they would probably even say, I wish I had better quality friends versus a lot of friends. You know?
That's why you have to take your, you know, friendships off of the internet into real life. Like, get into real life again. I think that even post, you know, I know lockdown was now 5 years ago, but because that shook the world so much, that isolation, people are so much more used to staying inside and staying indoors. And to get someone out into the world, like, don't tune into church on your couch. Walk into a physical church. Don't stay in your house all day long. Walk into a physical small group wherever you're at, or walk to a physical place. Go to places where people are. One of my best friends, I would say she's almost like a sister to me here in Cape Coral. Her name is Rebecca, and her husband Louis. We met at a children's museum in Naples. This was in a season where we didn't really have a ton of friends yet here.
We were still new.
We were just going to places and seeing who we meet and just really being with our kids. And her and I met, and now they go to our church, and we spent last Sunday with them for like 4 hours. Our kids have become friends. Our sons look like twins, you know? And so I think also be like, you never know who you'll meet out in the wild and stuff. But
absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that even as a young family and a young parent, it's good to know seasons are going to shift. Go to places where you can meet some people in the season of life you're in. And
there's shifts that happen too when you're, you know, if you've got friends from college, you know, that that you've been really tight with, and you just had a lot of longevity with and things like that. And then, you know, I always see it all the time where one of them is dating somebody, and that changes, you know, the whole dynamic, and everybody's on the group chat, and they're like, oh, dude, he left. They've got now a subgroup chat without that person, you know, and they're talking about how bad their girlfriend is or whatever. And then, you know, everyone goes on to date, and then you get married, and naturally, you know, that kind of pulls people away. But I think if you can get to a place where you have good couples in your life and you've got good friendships for all of those different seasons that happen, then I think that you found a really great just way to live, you know, where you're like, man, I can maintain friendships. I can keep these over the seasons, you know, where you know, it causes tensions and it naturally will cause change. But if you can keep those friendships alive and cultivated and developed and intentional throughout all of those changes, I think you're gonna have a really, really great life together, you know?
Absolutely. Friendship, it's not automatic anymore.
No.
I think there was a season of life where friendships felt automatic. They were just by default. You know, we're in the same room together, we're friends. But now I feel like life has changed and they take intentionality. And we're learning that, a lot of our friends that we really love, and even new friends that we instantly felt chemistry with, and we thought, okay, we've got to have more dinners with this couple or whatever. Sometimes it's us driving to Miami and planning something and doing a babysitter or whatever so that we can stay around people that fill us up and recharge us. And then sometimes it's just knowing I think friendships just take more work than you think. Once you hit 18, and you're in college, and then after college, it takes more work, but you'll be surprised at how it does pay off, and it's quality over quantity.
Right.
So, that's that. True. But there's a loneliness factor. There's a comparison trap happening, like we said, on social media. There's a fear of initiating. Why do you think people don't want to initiate?
I think maybe the fear of rejection, or them thinking that, oh, this person's not going to be who I think they are, or, it's just putting yourself out there. There's always that unknown factor that causes fear in us to not step out and take that first step. Yeah. And a lot of times I think we also are wanting somebody to take that first step first. Yeah. And everybody's just waiting for somebody else to take the first step and nothing happens. Yeah, And I think sometimes it just requires you to step out first. Yes. And then have that person reciprocate, there's a lot of friends that I have right now where it feels like I'm the one who's always texting first, always checking in first. And I could, be offended or hurt or whatever that oh, they're not responding or they're not reaching out to me and whatever. But I'm also, I'm also busy. There's also things going on in my life where if that person texts me back, I might take a while to respond. So sometimes it's not somebody intentionally being rude to you or hurtful to you or whatever. It's just, they've got a busy life. You've got a busy life. And so don't take that personally if that doesn't happen. Just keep going, keep trying, keep reaching out, keep connecting. Like you said, be the friend that you want to have in your life. And I think it's not a perfect equation, but you'll get to a place where it's all right, this is paying off, and this is a relationship that was started from that. I might have done it 10 times and it was just the one that stuck, but that's going to be the quality you need. Yeah. I read a stat online and I heard that rejection in friendships, this might be someone's opinion, but I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. Rejection in friendships hurts more than dating breakups. Would you say fact or fiction? I think fact, but it also depends on a lot of things. Okay. I think fact because if there's a lot of longevity and a lot of investment into a friendship, and then there's, hurt, depending on what it is, whatever it is. If somebody, crazy scenario, if somebody you're dating cheated on you with your best friend, that's a deep, deep hurt in a lot of different ways. But then if it's something where it's this person just ghosted me. I don't know where they're at. I don't know what they're doing. They changed. They had a big change in life, and now I'm not a part of it. Yeah. That sort of thing. So I think in most ways, probably a fact. What about you? What do you think? I agree that it depends on the depth of the friendship. Yeah. Because I've had friendships that have hurt like breakups. Right. And you've been there for me on some nights where I've been emotional and grieved the ending of friendships that just the season outgrew it. Life, we, went two different directions in life. And I just think that's part of life is that friendships sometimes pivot. And people go different directions in life. And depending on how much, how invested you were in that friendship will kind of determine on how the blow hits you when the friendship ends. Right. And the flip side, I'm sure there have been friends that we unknowingly don't even know who have maybe felt that from us. You never know when you are being the thing that's hurting someone else. It's so easy to see yourself as the hero in the narrative in your head that I've been a good friend, I've been a good person. But no, there's areas where we can all grow as friends. And so you just learn from the past and you move forward. But I think that a friendship can hurt like a dating breakup. Absolutely. I think anytime a relationship is fractured and the person still exists, in the world. Yeah. They haven't passed away. They're just not in your life anymore, but they're still existing somewhere. That is a different type of grief because you know that they're still out in the world. They're just not in your world anymore. Right. Yeah. It's hard. It is hard. Yeah, there's a lot of relationship pain that can come from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. What are you learning right now in this season of your life? What are you learning about friendships that's helping you, challenging you? Where are you at with friendships in your world?
Yeah, I think for guys, it can be a little bit trickier because, we mentioned this last episode. It's like we tend to isolate, know, and we can get so busy and caught up in our life and world that we're like, oh, we look around one day, we pick our head up and we realize I don't have anybody around me. I don't have any friends to go to. And a lot of times it happens in those really significant moments in life where you're going through loss or pain or a transition and you need somebody else to lean on and to go to. And you're like, oh, I don't have those people or that person. So I think what I'm realizing is to maintain friendships and to keep those healthy and connected, it's actually a lot easier than I tend to think it is. Because I tend to think we've got to be hanging out in person all the time, once a week. But really, it could be a check-in, you know? It could just be like, hey, bro, how's your week going? Haven't spoken in a while. There's some friends that I'll text and just be like, hey, man, we've got to catch up. Like, let's jump on a call or a FaceTime or something. And that call might be 5 minutes, it might be 50 minutes, it could be an hour. And a lot of times we'll do that with couples, where it's like, I'll call up, a friend who's like the husband and then like, you guys, like the wives will just be around and then we're all just catching up. And I think that's so fun. But I think for me, just knowing it's, great friendships are just a text away, just a voice message away, just a drive or a call away. And just putting that effort in and realizing it's easier than I make it out to be.
Absolutely.
That's
so true. What I'm learning about friendships in this season is that it's a two-way street.
Right.
It requires intentionality and work, and that it's never too late to make new friends. Whether you're 21 or you're 31 or you're 41, wherever you find yourself, it's never too late to make a new friend in life and for them to become someone that might be in your life for the rest of your life. I think there's been this misconception for so long that your day ones are the people that you ride through life with.
Right.
And I just don't think that has to be the case because in life, we are constantly evolving into versions of ourselves that are just a step, hopefully better, stronger, than we were yesterday. And so there's always someone that you will meet along the journey of life who's meeting this version of you. And they're saying, whoa, what's in you? I love that. I got to be around people like you. Can we get coffee? And sometimes there's that spark at the coffee where you realize, whoa, I think I just met my best friend or one of my best friends. And there's other times where you're like, that was great. Maybe there wasn't a crazy chemistry, but that was still a great experience. And so I think wherever you're at in life, just be encouraged that at any point in your life, you might meet an incredible person who ends up becoming one of your best friends, one of your most treasured friends. And I think that we've learned that in ministry as well as pastors, is that treasured friends are so valuable in this journey of life, pastoring and leading in ministry. As young adults or young parents ourselves, is that our best friends still we probably have yet to meet. Life is so long. So it's never too late to make a new friend and stay in spaces where you're going to meet those people so that you can grow stronger and begin to pray for the friends that you want. If you're 20, 21, 25, 27, and you're thinking to yourself, I don't see people around me that are the friends that maybe I need in this season, pray that God would bring them to you. And you'll be surprised at how you pray that specific prayer, how God shows up for you in the area of friendships. And then you stay in spaces like your local church where you can meet those people.
Absolutely.
And I mean, shameless plug, if you're someone in Southwest Florida
100%.
and you need a friend, like,
we'll be your friend.
We'll be your friend. I'll be your friend. You'll be a guy's friend. I'll be a girl's friend. But come to church, City First Cape Coral. This is not a City First, podcast, but we are the pastors of this church in Cape Coral. And if you need a friend in Southwest Florida, there are friends waiting for you in community, in the local church.
100%. And last question, we'll end with this. When it comes to friendships, what are some things that you look for to know this is a person I want to be around? This is a person that will be a great friend that I want to invest time into. Because we only have so much time in life, and we want to make sure we're putting it in the right places and the right people. What are a few things that you look for? Maybe after that initial conversation, maybe it's a feeling that you get after that interaction. What are some things that you look for where you're like, I need to invest more here?
I think mine are probably simple and obvious. I think shared interests as just, do you like what I like?
Yeah.
And do we have similar things that we're into? Maybe that's fashion or interior design or, are you a city girl? Do you enjoy going and trying coffee shops and, hanging? Are you down for a Miami day trip? Are you down for, I don't know. I just things like that are just things that I enjoy. Do you like coffee? Do you like books? Do you, love basketball or whatever? I'm just thinking about random things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do we have shared interests? Like, do we have things that we have in common? Because if not, we're going to be hanging out. We're not going to have anything to talk about.
Awkward silences all the time.
Yeah. So I think shared interests.
For sure. That's good.
Shared values. Like, are you trying to be better and grow? And I would even say that I have some friends that aren't even, maybe in the exact same faith. Like they're maybe not where I'm at in my journey with Jesus, but we still have enough things in common that we have a mutual shared respect and love for each other.
Sure.
So I think like chemistry and shared interests for me are green flags. That's good. Think a lightheartedness, sense of humor.
Yeah.
Someone I can laugh with.
Yeah.
Someone who, it's just like a no pressure friendship. I love low maintenance friendships too.
I think for me, I love when I feel better coming out of a conversation or interaction with somebody. Yeah. Like if I feel more empowered or I feel, more encouraged, that's like a great sign for me.
Yeah.
Versus on the other side, if I feel like more drained or discouraged or heavier afterwards, then to me, I'm like, I don't want more of that. That's not somebody that I maybe need to be investing into because I don't want to be like weighed down or poured into or drained. I want to be poured into, lifted up, encouraged, all of that, so that's just like one area that I look into, but I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're watching or listening, wherever you're at, friendships is something that we will always have a need for in life. And we don't want you to do life alone. And so maybe there's somebody from this episode as you're listening or watching that you are just thinking about. You need to text that person. You need to call that person, reach out to them and just set up a phone call or meet up, a coffee, a dinner, whatever it is. And you don't have to acknowledge if it's been a while. You don't have to say, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but you just say, hey, man, I would love to catch up with you again. Hey, I love seeing your life on social media. Let's catch up soon. Just those kinds of things. Just put out those messages and those invites and just see what happens on the other end. You might be able to, refresh this friendship that maybe is lost years before, whatever it is, but do something today to take action on what we've been talking about. And I think you're going to be better for it. But don't forget to just help us in a few things. If you could review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave a comment on YouTube or on any of the platforms, that helps us so much. It just helps to get the word out and to connect with more people. If this has been helpful for you, consider sharing it, texting it to a friend, whatever you can. And then don't forget to follow us on Instagram to stay up to date on everything that we're doing and putting out, and send in suggestions on what you want to hear us talk about and different topics like that. But we're so grateful that you tuned in and watched or listened. We hope you have an amazing rest of your day or night or morning, and we cannot wait to see you in the next episode of For People Like You. See ya.